Public Safety and Events and Quality of Life Committee meeting. I'm Lisa Dorsey, and I have with me Sheila Vaccaro and Nick Allen. First agenda today is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to discussion items, and we'll start with the monthly fire department.
Good evening, members of council. Justin McClure, Assistant Fire Chief. Chief Pelton is traveling this evening. He sends his regards. Council has the report for the month of October. One of the things, if you look at the numbers, the department's runs as of October 31st were 1,270. That's over a 12% increase of where we were that time in 2021. And that also includes in 2021 Hurricane Ida, which increased our call volume by over 50 responses. So we are today where we were at the end of last year, and there's still 2 more months to go, and there's no sign of it slowing down. On top of that, our volunteers in the month of October spent 86 hours over 17 various fire prevention visits to daycare, schools, churches, and staff at various facilities for Fire Prevention Month. And finally, in the month of October, the department placed into service its 3 new F-550 utility vehicles, which are used for transporting manpower, equipment, and towing our technical rescue trailers, ATV trailer, and water rescue trailers to incidents throughout the entire county. Any questions?
None for me. Ms. Vaccaro? Mr. Allen? Thank you, Chief McClure. And we'll move on to the monthly police department. Chief Moorhead?
Good evening, Jim Moorhead, Chief of Police. For the month of October, the police department responded to and handled 2,945 calls, of which 2,169 of those were in the borough of Westchester, which is down for a typical October, even including homecoming. So calls for service were down slightly. Crime overall continues to trend up. But nothing significant to point out. If we can go to the Part 1 crime for October, we can see that we have a spike in burglaries and thefts. I'd like to remind the committee that the burglaries were from early October when we still had our serial burglar running around. Warrant still remains out for this individual. Detectives are still working to locate him. Good news is he hasn't been back. So we have not had any burglaries since the warrant for his arrest was put out, which is a good thing. Thefts, again, just continue to remind all of our citizens to be very smart with online and phone calls that they receive and such. We're getting a lot of scams going on, especially this time of year. So just warnings to everybody, nothing in particular to warn about, just if it doesn't sound right, it's probably not right. So we continue to see victims walking through the door every day and making phone calls. For Part 2 crime, there's nothing to really point out. Everything's trending, typical for us this time of year. And I would also like to point out that our 4 new hires, Officer Gilbert, Officer Lopez, Officer McMillan, and Officer Doherty, are doing well in their training. They're not quite through the halfway point yet, but they continue to track well. Each of them are doing exactly what's expected of them. So other than that, that's it for the monthly police report.
That was the one question I had, so you answered it.
Okay.
Ms. Vaccaro? Mr. Allen?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And monthly EMS report, Chief Brogan? Oh, not Chief Brogan today.
Good evening, everybody. Lenny Brown, Assistant Chief from Good Fellowship. As you guys can imagine, my monthly report is, the descriptor would be busy, right? That's been the trend over the last handful of months. And last month was no different. In total, Good Fellowship ran 695 calls for all of the municipalities that we serve. And looking back for at least the 5 years through our archives, we believe that is the busiest month ever for the organization. So much like the fire company, we're continuing to be busier and trending. For October for the borough, 227 calls in total, which we also believe is the busiest for the borough as a whole. So as you can see, going through our report there, the weekends tend to be the busiest still, and 1 o'clock in the morning is the busy time for us. But otherwise, everything else is in line. We're seeing with our trends, even though we're being busy, all of the transports, the receiving facilities, the outcomes are all in line with what we consider to be our normal call volume, and everything else that we would expect. The only other thing to add, in addition to our report, is that our subscription is coming out to your mailboxes. So our AMLO subscription, which allows you to then pay a small fee and then incur no out-of-pocket costs for anything that your insurance might not cover, will be delivered in the next handful of weeks directly to your mailboxes. And that always is a great support of our teams and what we do. So if there's no other questions, that's all we have.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Vaccaro, Mr. Allen? All right, thank you. All right, and item number D, reproductive rights language for the amendment to the Home Rule Charter. Do we have that one?
I guess are we picking up where we left off from last month? Is that the?
So was it so refresh my memory, was it the language that we were trying to define? And what?
My
Good.
memory was we were going to meet with solicitors and discuss
What we
request-
could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm confused. I thought we were going to have language
I
from the
apologize for that.
solicitor.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to the solicitor about
Okay.
that specifically.
We can, do you think we'll have it for next week for discussion, or we should push it to December?
Let me talk to Kristen tomorrow and see if we can't get it on next Tuesday's agenda. I
Perfect.
know there's timing issues.
All right, perfect. All right, action items is the approve the October 2022 Public Safety meeting minutes. Any questions on the minutes? All right, thank you. And other business, Westchester Area School District School Resource Officer contract with, for some reason, it was hard to say.
Again, James Moorhead, Chief of Police. I'll cover this briefly because it's not quite ready to come to council yet, but it's going to be coming fast. This is something that's been in the works since the beginning of this year. The school district of Westchester is looking to put SROs, or school resource officers, in the 3 high schools, Ruston, East, and Henderson. Westchester Borough Police Department would be responsible for Henderson High School. There's a contract in hand. Myself and the other 2 chiefs involved in this have met and have had a number of language changes in the memorandum of understanding that would need to come before council to be voted on. I anticipate that to happen in December, and we'd be looking to put the school resource officer in place on January 2nd when school goes back into session. This is a long time coming. I think it's very valuable for not only the public safety of our schools. Our SRO will also be making visits to Hillsdale and East Bradford Elementary as well. The school district is in receipt of funding to pay for the officers' school year at the school. So the borough is going to see that as well. I've met with Mr. Metrick on the initial MOU. Again, a lot of the language is changing so that we can get it right for the police departments involved. And we anticipate, again, bringing that in front of full council at December for a vote. The idea would be if voted in favor of and all the contract language is cleaned up, this agreement would begin January 2nd of this coming year. We are taking application downstairs for officers interested in the SRO position, and it'll be a full-time school year position. And when they're not attached to the school or involved with the school, they'll be back here working as a police officer.
So is it 3 officers in total, or how many
One officer from Westchester, one officer from West Goshen, and one officer from Westtown East Goshen Regional.
Okay.
So the Westtown East Goshen Regional will be in Ruston. The West Goshen officer will be in East, and then the Westchester officer will be here at Henderson.
Thank you. Ms. Vaccaro, any questions? Mr. Allen? Thanks, Chief.
Just in conclusion, it's obviously everybody sees the public safety component, but it goes so much deeper than that. Building a relationship, showing a positive interaction with police and students, giving the students somebody they can trust to come forward to with questions or advice. Just that support and the networking that the officer is going to have within the school. We've followed other programs that have been very successful, and we expect nothing less here as well. We're looking forward to getting started with it. I think it's long overdue. So
Can I ask one question? The language isn't final, so I feel maybe this is premature, but what is the difference between what is currently occurring with the police in the schools and what will be occurring?
So Westchester Borough currently has no formal agreement with the school district. There are no officers in the schools. Our officers are proactive. They're constantly paying visits to the schools, but those are spot checks. Those are, an officer has available time. They stop in to have lunch with the kids at East Bradford Elementary, or they stop in to walk the halls at Henderson. This is a dedicated 8-hour employee to the school, and the officer will be in school at all times. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any other business? All right, meeting adjourned at 5:43. Thank you all.